Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Alpha Beta Tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to take you through how to solve a quadratic equation by completing the square and also by using the quadratic formula. First of all, what is a quadratic equation? A quadratic equation is an equation of the form ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, where a, b, and c are constants and a is not equal to 0. Let's take one example of a quadratic equation and see how we can solve it by completing the square. Example: solve the equation below by completing the square. So this is a quadratic equation. We have 4x squared minus 8x plus 3 is equal to 0. To complete the square, we have to make sure that the coefficient of x squared is 1. And we can achieve this by dividing through the equation by the coefficient of x squared, which is 4. So we have 4x squared over 4 minus 8x over 4 plus 3 also over 4 is equal to 0 over 4. So 4 will cancel here, and we have x squared minus 2. 4 goes into 8, 2. So 2x plus 3 over 4, and then 0 over 4 is 0. Secondly, we have to find half of the coefficient of x. That is half times the coefficient of x is 2. So half times 2 is 1. And then open a bracket and write x without a square. Repeat whatever sign we have here. If we have positive, we'll bring positive. If we have negative here, we'll bring negative. And half of the coefficient of x is 1. So we write 1 and then bring the square here. And then we subtract the square of whatever number we have here. This is always subtraction. Subtract the square of the number here, always. So minus 1 squared. And then we continue with whatever we have. So we have plus 3 over 4 is equal to 0. So 1 squared is 1 plus 3 over 4 is equal to 0. And then negative 1 plus 3 over 4 is negative 1 over 4 is equal to 0. And then negative 1 over 4 will cross the equal to sign to become positive. So we have x minus 1 square is equal to 1 over 4. Then we take square roots of both sides. And then the square will cancel the square roots. Have x minus 1 is equal to square root of 1 is 1 and square root of 4 is 2. So we have plus or minus 1 over 2. Negative 1 will cross the equal to sign to become positive 1. And we have plus or minus 1 over 2. So x is 1 plus 1 over 2, which is 3 over 2, or x is equal to 1 minus 1 over 2, which is 1 over 2. So these are the roots of the quadratic equation. By completing the square of the general quadratic equation, we can arrive at a formula for solving quadratic equations, also known as the quadratic formula. So we have ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. To complete the square, we have to make sure that the coefficient of x squared is 1. We can achieve this by dividing through by the coefficient of x squared, which is a. So we have ax squared over a plus bx over a plus c over a is equal to 0 over a. A will cancel out, and we have x squared here plus b over ax plus c over a, then 0 over a is 0. And then we find half of the coefficient of x, which is b over a. So half times b over a. 1 times b is b, and 2 times a is 2a. So we have b over 2a here. And then we open a bracket and write the x here without the square. Repeat the sign here. Half of the coefficient of x is b over 2a. So bring it here. Close the bracket, bring the square here. And always we subtract the square of whatever we have here. So minus b over 2a squared. And then we continue from here. That's plus c over a is equal to 0. So we have b squared over 2 squared is 4a squared. That is b squared, and then 2 squared is 4. And then the square is also affecting a. Plus c over a is equal to 0. Now let's take everything over here to the other side of the equation. So we have b squared over 4a squared, then minus c over a. Then we take the LCM, which is 4a squared. 4a squared goes into itself 1 times b squared is b squared. A goes into 4a squared, 4a. That is, the a will cancel one of the a's here, leaving 4a. Then 4a times c will give us 4ac. And then let's take square root of both sides. The square will cancel the square root. We have x plus b over 2a. And then here, the square root of 4 is 2. And the square root of a squared is a. So we have 2a at the denominator and square root of b squared minus 4ac at the top. And then let b over 2a cross the equal to sign to the other side of the equation. It will become negative b over 2a plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And let's take the LCM over here, which is 2a. 2a goes into 2a 1. 1 times negative b is negative b. 2a goes into 2a 1 again. 1 times this is the same thing. So we have x is equal to negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, which is the quadratic formula. Example, solve the equation below. We have 4x squared minus 8x plus 3 is equal to 0. A is equal to 4, that's the coefficient of x squared. B is negative 8, that's the coefficient of x. And then the constant c is 3. Using the quadratic formula, x is equal to negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So we fix a, b, and c into the formula to achieve our results. So x is equal to negative b. The b is already negative. So this negative is in the formula, and the b is also negative. Plus or minus square root of b squared, which is negative 8 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 4, times c, 3, all over 2 times a, so 2 times 4. So two negative signs will give us positive 8 plus or minus square root of negative 8 squared is 64 minus 4 times 4 times 3 is 48, and then 2 times 4 is 8. So x is equal to 8 plus or minus square root of 16. That is 64 minus 48 is 16. And square root of 16 is 4. So we have 8 plus or minus 4 all over 8. So x is either 8 plus 4 all over 8, which is 12 over 8 and 3 over 2, or x is 8 minus 4 all over 8, which is 4 over 8, and when we cancel out we get 1 over 2.